Woodcutter and the Fairy. Once upon a time, there was a poor but kind-hearted woodcutter who lived with his elderly mother in a small cottage deep in the mountains. Every day, the woodcutter went into the woods to cut firewood. One cold winter day, as he was swinging his axe, he heard the cry of an animal. He found a deer desperately running from a hunter, and feeling pity, hid the deer behind some rocks. When the hunter appeared, the woodcutter feigned ignorance, and the hunter finally left. The deer, grateful for his kindness, thanked the woodcutter and promised that one day it would repay him. A few months later, the deer appeared once again and told the woodcutter about a mysterious pond deep in the mountains. The deer said, "On a clear night, if you go to this pond, you will see 7 beautiful fairies come down from the sky to bathe. Hide one of their winged robes, and the fairy whose robe is missing will not be able to return to heaven. If you comfort her and ask her to marry you, she will become your wife. But do not return her robe until you have 3 children." The woodcutter followed the deer's instructions. On the next full moon, he crept up to the pond. Just as the deer had said, 7 fairies in dazzling clothes descended gracefully from the heavens. As they bathed in the moonlit pond, the woodcutter quietly took one winged robe and hid behind a tree. After bathing, the fairies dressed and flew back to the sky, except for the youngest fairy, who could not find her robe. She searched in vain, but it was gone. The woodcutter approached her gently and explained that her robe was lost, offering to take her to his home until they found it. With no way to return to heaven, the fairy agreed. Over time, she came to accept her new life, and the woodcutter and fairy married. Their days were happy, and soon they had their first child, then a second, and finally a third. Yet the fairy often gazed longingly at the sky, missing her home and her sisters. Seeing her sadness, the woodcutter's heart softened, and he thought the time had come to return her robe. He led her to where it was hidden, and showed it to her. Overjoyed, the fairy donned her robe immediately. In tears, she embraced her children and husband. The fairy told the woodcutter she must return to heaven, but would never forget her family on earth. With her robe, she gathered her children into her arms and soared back into the sky. The woodcutter was left on earth, sorrowful and alone. Sometime later, the kind deer visited the woodcutter again. The deer revealed a way for the woodcutter to reach the sky. Go to the village well. When the fairy sisters come to draw water, hide in the bucket. When they pull it up, you'll reach the sky world. Following the deer's advice, the woodcutter hid in the bucket, and soon he was lifted up into the heavens. There he was reunited with his wife and children. They lived together happily in heaven, but the woodcutter grew homesick for his mother on earth. The fairy, caring for her husband's heart, gave him a magical winged horse and instructed, "You may visit your mother on earth, but do not ever dismount from the horse. If you step on the ground, you will not be able to return to us in the sky." The woodcutter flew down to earth on his magical horse and greeted his mother with joy. She was overjoyed to see her son again and prepared a delicious meal for him. Forgetting his wife's warning in his happiness, he got down from the horse to help his mother. As soon as his feet touched the ground, the winged horse vanished. The woodcutter waited and waited, but the magical horse and his fairy family never returned. In this way, the kind woodcutter was forever separated from his loving wife and children in the sky, and he lived the rest of his life with only memories of their happiness. This is the story of the fairy and the woodcutter, a tale of fortune, longing, and the bittersweet consequences of love and fate.